To the west of Honshu, in the region of Chugoku, a certain city made a brutal entry into the pages of history, Hiroshima. On the morning of August 6, 1945, the sky was clear over the city. The American bomber dropped the atomic bomb from an altitude of 9,500 meters. It exploded directly over the Institute of Industrial Development, the only building left standing. They've kept it in that state as a testimony, and they renamed it the Atomic Bomb Dome. The Americans had chosen other cities as possible targets. But on the tragic day, they were overcast with clouds. The catastrophe took place at Hiroshima because the weather was fine here that morning. Now, the youth of Japan are encouraged to visit the Peace Memorial Park. Several monuments have been erected here, like the Children's Peace Monument. There are constant reminders, and they explain why the fires from heaven struck here. This is a space entirely devoted to the tragedy and shows the suffering that the country endured before it once again was at peace. The Peace Memorial Museum shows us the extent of the disaster. There's a scale model of the city as it was before the bomb. We see the dome in its original state before the fatal hour. The American President Harry Truman launched the operation mainly to put an end to a long drawn-out conflict. Hiroshima was an ideal target, for it had never been bombed. Thus, it would be easier to evaluate the bomb's destructive power. Most of the victims were burned, and radiation went on killing for years after. The city is now resolutely turned towards the future, but conserves the memory of its past. Hiroshima is proud of its tramway system. It was created in the early 20th century and was completely rebuilt after the atomic explosion. At the Tramway Museum, a few of the venerable old-timers are remarkably well conserved. Spare parts are quite scarce, but the streetcars are all kept in working order, even though they are now retired. Streetcar number 651 experienced the bomb. It was restored, and even if it does rock a bit, it can still hold its own against today's streetcars. In the late 16th century, the head of the most powerful clan decided to build a castle in the city. Later, the castle was torn down, except for its four-story keep, which was leveled by the blast from the atomic bomb and then rebuilt about 10 years later. The Kinzagai district is the place to go for lively nightlife. Friday after work is the time for colleagues to get together and celebrate the end of the week with a drink or two. The port of Hiroshima is both wide open onto the Pacific Ocean and well sheltered. The Kure shipyards to the south of the city give an idea of Japan's maritime power. Barely 10 years after the end of the Second World War, Japan became the world's leading shipbuilder and remained so for half a century. Now, Japan is in second place after South Korea. Processing industries play a major role in Japan's economy. As the country has very few natural resources, Japan has to import its raw materials before transforming them. A fact that the automobile industry has taken to heart. In 2007, Japan passed the United States to become the world's #1 car maker. A result that was made possible thanks to the streamlining of production. There are very few workers on the assembly lines because just about all the operations are automated. The machine is there to serve man, and man checks the machine's work. Certain car makers can turn out as many as 7 different models from the same assembly line. Meanwhile, the new prototypes are showing the way of tomorrow for the automobile industry. The design of cars has radically changed over the last 40 years. The need to economize fuel has pushed designers to improve the streamline. The sharp edges have been smoothed out, and the motors consume less.